beautiful is a wisely led life, Solomon's portico.
Okay, so what we are doing, not only in this video, but in the foreseeable future, is we are going to be annotating things. Now, I'm an English language arts teacher, and one of the things that I teach my students is the skill of annotation. Now, annotation is simply taking notes on what you're reading. Okay, typically those notes are taken on the margin. Typically those notes involve highlighting of some kind. All right. So I feel like the best thing to call this section, or this series rather, is Annotating the Light, because light reveals truth. Light is associated with the truth. And so I figured that if we are annotating the Bible, per se, we should call it what it is. It's the truth. It's the light. So we are going to be annotating the light. But there will actually probably be a section at some point. I don't know if I'll do this at the same time as annotating the Bible, but I will eventually, at least a goal of mine is that I will become well versed enough in other religions and philosophies and etc. that I will be able to analyze them, critique them, and break them down and show where they are deficient and show where they are not true. And I will call those lessons annotating the dark, or annotating the darkness. But it's far more important to examine the truth and what the truth has, because that is how you recognize a counterfeit, is by comparing it with the truth. So let's look at the truth. Alright, so specifically we're going to look at the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 1, verses 1 to 13. We're probably just going to do a few verses today, and we'll do more verses later on, just for the sake of time. I don't want to make this video super long, because I know that people are much less apt to click on really long videos as they are short ones. I know that from personal experience, because I'm the same way. Anyways, the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 1, verses 1 to 13. This is the New American Standard Bible that we will be reading from. Okay, without further ado, Gospel of Mark. The beginning of the Gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, as it is written in Isaiah the prophet. Behold, I send my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way, the voice of one crying in the wilderness. Make ready the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. Okay, so when we annotate, there are a few things that we're looking for, or that we can look for. These are suggestions that the lessons I've been teaching suggest about what things to annotate. And those are questions that you have. Okay, questions that you have. Predictions that you have. So you make, if it's a story, you make predictions regarding the plot, and that's either confirmed later or it's denied later, If it's a informational text, you might predict the outcome of the hypothesis that's being tested, or whatever. If it's an article on global warming and whether or not it's true or false, your prediction might be that it's totally true or that it's totally false, and then that would either be confirmed later on in the article as you read evidence one way or the other, or it wouldn't. Okay. Inferences. An inference is an educated assumption. It is you as a human being using your prior knowledge that you came to the table with, okay, and combining that with evidence from the text to make logical assumptions, right? Logical conclusions about the text, what it means. Inference is all about what is really being said, reading between the lines kind of thing. Personal responses. That's kind of self-explanatory. How do you respond to this? This is especially important with the Bible. It's not important for understanding meaning, but it is important for the purpose of application, right? Yeah. And also just charting your personal journey. You read a verse and you might have, it may not hit you at first, but then you read it again later on. Man, you feel the need to annotate that. You feel the need to write a note in the margins. Like, wow, this is powerful. I never realized how powerful it was before. And I've read it 100 times. So I guess I needed 101, And finally, tracking. And just like in the Army, tracking sergeant, that means I'm following you. So tracking is it's reminding yourself of what is actually going on. Okay, so let's take a look at the first 3 verses. Okay, now in Microsoft Word, to annotate things easily, you just go to the Review tab, and then you click on a space like there, or you can highlight something, and then you click New Comment. Okay, and when you do that, it gives you delete that comment. Yeah, when you do that, it gives you space over here to write your annotation. So, all right, let's take a look at some of the things that I noticed. All right, first, I made a prediction over here. I made a prediction, and that prediction was that the topic of this book, the main character rather, is going to be Jesus Christ. And that seems like that's a pretty good prediction, doesn't it? It says the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. So this is about the gospel of this guy, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Heavy stuff. It's not heavy in the sense of, depressing, but it's heavy in the sense of glorious and weighty material. This is important. This is about the Son of the Creator God, right? Okay, the beginning of the gospel. Now, many of you watching this channel might know that gospel comes from the word euangelizo in the Greek. The New Testament was written entirely with the Koine Greek language. Okay, and in the Koine Greek language, the word that we translate to mean gospel is the word euangelizo, and it means good news. Okay, so gospel is good news, and it was often used regarding the reporting of a victory. It's good news about a victory that happened, right? So this is all the good news of a victorious person. And who is this victorious person? This victorious person is Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And you see what I've done? I have made an inference, right? I've made an inference. Did you sense it? Did you understand it? Okay, I'm going to write this down since that happened just now. Here is an inference. Jesus is a victorious warrior of sorts. Yeah. All right. So, it's a story about the victory. It's the good news of the victory of Christ, the Son of God. Okay, that's already a powerful beginning, isn't it? And we predicted this book, or I predicted this book would be all about Jesus. And we'll find out that indeed it is. All right, my personal response to this when I look at verse 2, is I rejoice that what the prophets of old had spoken was so clearly confirmed later on. I'm really excited. You know, I've been a Christian for years, and I'm just really excited when I read these words. I'm excited, you know, the way that a couple that are still in love with each other are excited that the other person said I do. You know, the other person said yes. I still get excited about the fact that God's truth is true. You know, that what Isaiah said, he said, you know, 600 years before Christ came on the scene, and yet it was confirmed. All right, so here's a good example of a question that we ask. What you have here in the caps, you know, another question you might ask is, you know, as if you're studying it and you're new to studying the Bible, is why is this in caps? Okay, and after you studied a little bit, you might come back and you might annotate the answer to your question, right? All right, so the answer to this question is, and I forgot a question mark. There we go. The answer to this question is, it shows that the verse is a quotation. Okay, so it's a quotation specifically of the Old Testament. Okay, that's just the Bible's way of showing that this is an Old Testament quotations by putting it in all caps. Right? All right, so where does this originally come from? This is a question I wrote down. And, you know, I did a little research and I found that this is from, I mean, we know it's from Isaiah, right? It says Isaiah right there, written in Isaiah the prophet. But where is it found specifically? Okay, so if you sorry, let's not go there. If you look at BibleHub.com and you search for the same words that are in all caps, right? In the Bible verse itself, right? If you look for these words right here, if you look for these words, like maybe you copy and you paste, not all of it, but some of it, you know, you will end up finding what you're looking for. You'll see a few options and you click on one of the options and then you find that, you know, bada bing, bada boom, here it is. Oh, look at that. A voice is calling, clear the way. Does that sound familiar? Prepare the way, clear the way. Clear the way for the Lord in the wilderness. Make smooth in the desert a highway for our God. Okay? So that's the quotation that Jesus is making. That's the reference to the Old Testament that Jesus is making. You know, let every valley be lifted up, every mountain and hill be made low, the rough ground become a plain, the rugged terrain a broad valley. Okay, now let's look at the language in the quotation here. Yeah, make his paths straight. How are you going to make it straight? Well, you're crushing obstacles in the way so that the path is easier or better to walk on. You know, you won't twist an ankle, kind of thing. Make the way ready, right? And it talks about a voice crying in the wilderness. It talks about a messenger sent ahead. Okay, so we're looking at someone who clears the way for the Lord in the wilderness and makes his way smooth. Who's it for? It's for our God, right? This word Lord here in all caps is the personal covenantal name in Hebrew. So in the Old Testament, whenever you see the word Lord in all caps, this is in the Old Testament, whenever you see the word Lord in all caps, in the original Hebrew, it is the four-letter word that's spelled Yod, He, Vav, He, that is often translated to be spoken as Yahweh. And what that word means is, it's hard to describe, but its origin is such that in the book of Exodus, in chapter 3 or 4, I believe, Moses comes to the burning bush and he hears the voice of God speaking, and he's like, whoa, what's going on? He's told to take off his sandals. This is holy ground. And he enters into a conversation with this burning bush. And the voice tells him that he is to go and he is to deliver the people of Israel. And he's like, whoa, 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 what do I do? I mean, when I go to my people and I say that God spoke to me, they're going to ask the question. And this tells you a little bit about how messed up they were back then. But, you know, they're going to ask the question, which God sent you to me? And I can almost imagine the Lord laughing. But the Lord says, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am who I am. And you can tell them that I am has sent you. Okay? The word Yahweh comes from the word, I believe it's Yireh, which means to be. So when God refers to himself as Yahweh, he's referencing the fact that he just is. And he's the only being like that in the universe. Because we are all created beings that subsist completely upon his good pleasure. If Yahweh willed it, we would no longer be. We would no longer exist. But in his grace and in his plan, in his wisdom, he chooses to continually and completely sustain us. Wow. And this is the God that a way is being cleared for. You see that? Clear the way for who? For Yahweh in the wilderness. Make smooth in the desert a highway. For who? For God himself. What does that imply? That implies that God himself is going to, in whatever way is meant here, he's going to walk among us. Okay? You read further along and you see that it says, the glory of Yahweh will be revealed, and all flesh will see it together, for the mouth of Yahweh has spoken. It's powerful. And that is the reference that is being made here. That is what Isaiah was talking about. And a messenger was going to be sent, and that messenger was going to serve as a way preparer. Okay? For who? For God to walk. And we will look at more evidence for that as we just expound upon the text. That's all we're doing. We're looking at the truth and we're annotating it. And I hope you will join me again next time as we do that. Until then, stay frosty, my friends.